this year, to rekindle the glory of Christmas, I want to suggest to you a book I've written called Bethlehem's Lamb. It's the greatest story ever told. Not my story, not the story in this book, but the story that it's about, Jesus Christ, God's eternal Lamb. It really is the greatest story ever told. Now we're going to go between the lines of Scripture to imagine the passion, the emotion, the pain, the rejection Mary felt, the hurt, the anger, the rage Joseph felt, the shame and embarrassment of her parents, the love and warmth of Elizabeth and her husband Zachariah, and all that was involved in this beautiful nativity story. So I've written it like a novel, so you can really experience that first Christmas as you read and as your heart, not just your head, but your heart is warmed by this magnificent story. But don't just take my word for it. Let me give you a few comments from others that have read this book. For example, Mary Clay Wells said, "I've never read a book that so vividly drew me into the Christmas story. I could feel the glory rushing over me, the pain of rejection from those Mary loved, the ruggedness and stench of the animal stable, and the beauty of the birth of Bethlehem's Lamb." Almost every chapter made me cry. I read it twice in one night because I absolutely couldn't put it down. And Marcia from Georgia said this. In fact, she came out to a couple of our seminars and our internship, and she walked over to the book table and she scanned the table and she noticed this little book, Bethlehem's Lamb, and she thought, well, that'd be a nice book for my children and my grandchildren at Christmas. But she thought, well, I better listen to it first. And so we have a audio book in which she put in her CD player as she was driving back to Georgia, and she listened to this audio book. Now this is what she said. She said, "Little did I know the gift about to unfold in the sanctuary of my car." Dr. Sandy's passionate narration pulled me into the scene, and by the third chapter, my eyes needed windshield wipers. I pulled over the side of the road, and that's when she texted me and started telling me how she felt about the book. And she said, "I immediately knew I wanted my children and grandchildren to experience this story." And you know, she said, "I didn't even make it into the house when I told them, you've got to listen to this story. And if you'll put it on every week or every day during Christmas, your whole family will be so focused on the real reason for Christmas. That glory of eternity of the Lamb will flood your Christmas season." And so, one more story. I love this one. A young lady from Scotland, a mother from Scotland, gave this, I guess it was the book. She gave the book to her daughter-in-law. She said her daughter-in-law was not a Christian. She didn't go to church, but she gave it to her for Christmas. And that night, her daughter-in-law went to bed reading Bethlehem's Lamb, and she couldn't put it down. She read it all the way through. And the next morning, she got up and she said, "I want to go to church. I want Jesus." And she got saved that day. After reading this simple little book, I mean, it's just a tender, loving, warm story of what really, really happened. And so this Christmas, let me urge you, let's peel back the trappings, all that goes into our Christmas celebrations, and let's feel again the passion, the love, the glory of the first Christmas. That's when God bit down, tore His Son from His side, and gave the greatest gift of all. He gave us Bethlehem's Lamb. It's the greatest story ever told.